All right, climbers, on today's episode, we have a very special guest that we are going to bring once again, yet another mentor out there that is orbiting around the same planet I am, that is for the indie artist, showing you different systems, different ways, different methodologies to get your music in front of new eyeballs and grow your brand and grow your money and be able to make not just a living, but like a good living doing what you were born to do. So we're going to get him on in just a second here. Welcome to the Climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. Leverage is what it's going to take to get ahead. You're not going to be plucked from obscurity by a big corporate machine that's going to turn you into a household name. You're going to have to do it yourself. That's the bad news. The good news is you don't need anybody's permission. You can make the music you want to make. You don't have to bend over for anybody, but you got to prove that your music has value and that there's an audience out there willing to listen to it. That's called leverage. That's why we called it the Climb. C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That's a backstrom for my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, and more. Had a couple number ones in the last couple of years in Southern Gospel. Currently got a top 10 hit in Australian country radio. And what I love about Brent is he helps you turn pro as a writer by teaching you how to write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then ultimately he gets you in touch with the pros to create those relationships that are necessary. That's the last link in the chain. So you can get your songs cut, and you can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. Yeah, it's complicated, but yeah, Johnny's smart. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production, singular, no S, and there's no S because there is no other Johnny D.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, good to see you, man.
Good to see you, too. We are like just pounding out like just tons of killer information for climbers like in this string of shows here. I love it.
This is fun. Been doing a little more interviews than normal lately, and that's so much fun. Get to meet new people, learn new stuff.
Really, from the mothership, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of digital work. We're gonna bring on in just a second here. We're gonna bring on the CEO of Modern Musician, which is Michael Walker, and we're just gonna go deep into what it takes to happen on. Get your music in front of new people, grow your brand on a digital platform, and focus on the things that you can control. And not worry about the things you can't control, like how you're going to get on P1 terrestrial radio.
That's right.
So before we do that, let's take care of a little business. Join the Climb community on Facebook. We want you to be there. It's facebook.com/groups/the Climb community. You have to ask to be let in, but we let everybody in, and you get to stay in for as long as you want until you get roadhoused out for not following 3 simple rules. Just we want to hear about your gigs, put it in the right post. We want to hear about your wins, put it in the right post. We want to hear about your new music, put it in the right post. Just leave the feed open to stuff that is going to be beneficial to everybody. It's that simple. And we want you to follow and subscribe to the podcast wherever whatever platform you're using. And most importantly, guys, you're usually hanging out with us for somewhere between 40 minutes to an hour every single week. That's for a reason. Tell a friend about it. Help us help them. Right.
That's right.
That's what we want to happen there. So let's get right to it here. Mr. Michael Walker, we're on a time frame here. We were running late. You were running a little late. Everybody's like, it's just compiling up. And I know you got to bolt out here in a half an hour for a meeting. So Michael Walker from Modern Musician, welcome to the Climb.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. Yeah, excited to be here.
So, quick little bio here on Michael Walker. Michael Walker is leading a revolution in today's music industry, having personally reached 17 million views on YouTube. He's working with Grammy award-winning producers and touring internationally to perform for hundreds of thousands of fans worldwide. Michael's one of those rare mentors who has actually walked the walk of their own methodology. Starting out with the pure grassroots techniques, he and his band, Paradise Fears, went from living out of their cars to selling 24,000 albums in 6 months and reaching number 2 on the iTunes alternative charts. Taking his clients through a 3-tier system: artistic identity, fan base growth, and revenue multiplier, Michael provides artists with the tools necessary to create lasting career in the music industry. And Michael, this is digital, right? For the most part.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny. A lot of the stuff that we did with Paradise Fears was all around grassroots marketing and traveling and going on tour. We
Mhm.
literally got our start by walking up to fans, waiting in lines for shows, and just meeting as many people as possible and sharing our music. And so a lot of things that we teach now didn't really exist 10 years ago when we were first starting out. And it's so amazing, really, like the tools and the opportunities for an artist to be able to have a full-time career at home just
Mhm.
by plugging into their laptop and creating music in a home studio and magically broadcasting it over the internet, and actually being able to target the right fans who are most likely to resonate with their music based on these advanced algorithms. It's something that didn't used to exist, but now
Well,
it's definitely kind of the golden age of being a modern musician in the digital marketing era.
that's great. Well, really, it is the same thing as going up and shaking hands with fans before the show. Only you're just doing it's a digital handshake, but you're still going, "Hey, they're in line. That's my people. I'm gonna go say
Mhm.
hi to one
100%.
of them at a time and have a little personal interaction." It's the same thing. New platform, new way of doing what worked for you the first time.
100%. Yeah, we actually we call it virtual tour hacking because we call the original one
Oh, I
tour
like
hacking.
that.
We call it virtual tour hacking because it is the exact same fundamentals, the same thing. It's about
Mhm.
connecting with people, having conversation, and this is. I know you guys know this. Like this isn't even. It's not just for musicians too. It's for all businesses. It's really
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
finding who are the people who are most likely to resonate with your music. Who are the people who are going to get the most value from what you have to offer,
Mhm.
and introducing yourself to them, connecting with them, and building a relationship, delivering value, and then having something valuable to offer in exchange for money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love what you just said about who are the people that are gonna resonate, like, the music's gonna resonate with them and gonna get the most value from your music. It's not going, "How many throats can I shove this down until they like it?" It's
Mm.
which is the broadcast radio platform, right? That's you just we're gonna beat you with it until you submit. But this is like, who is this gonna serve? Who is this
Mm.
music gonna serve? Who is my music gonna like, they're gonna be like, "Thank you."
Mm.
How do we find and we can
100%.
these days, you can kind of find them a lot better
Mm.
than used to.
Totally, and that's such an important point because I think that one of the biggest challenges or the biggest mistakes that I see, and I can relate with it because we started there, and I think almost every every musician starts here is at the very beginning, making music, and usually just kind of your friends and your family who kind
Mhm.
of have to support you and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
thumbs up, like nice job, but
Yeah.
they might not necessarily really be like super fans or real true fans. They're just kind
Mhm,
of listening to it support you. And I think for a lot of musicians who are starting out who never really had the type of relationship with finding those true fans or finding those people who just really resonate with the songs,
mhm.
it's easy to look at that and think, maybe I'm just not good enough. Maybe my music isn't special enough, and not really realize that you have to find and connect with the right people, right? When we walked up to fans waiting lines for shows, those were people who got up off their butts and went to a live show and spent money to be there,
Yeah.
right? And so it's a very like rare breed of person, and that's was the first experience for us where I think we connected with real fans of music who actually are supportive and go out and listen. They were excited to listen to the songs, and if you're not, having conversations with those people, then it's easy to talk to someone who's just not really that supportive or that interested in the music and not get a great response, and that makes
Mhm.
you feel like maybe your music's not good enough, when a lot of times it's just a matter of finding the right people who do get genuine value from your music.
Yeah.
True, yeah.
I think, and we just recorded an episode, um, like 2 episodes ago today because we're stacking them up, right? But Brent was reading an article out of Music World magazine and talking about the sort of resurgence of '90s country music. And what was interesting to me from a marketing perspective was that, okay, because Cole Twindell has a a hit out now that's sampled has Carolina Tales California, which is a huge country hit back in the '90s. This is sort of leading that charge. There's a couple other songs that are out there kind of doing the same thing, and it's creating a trend again. But the trend is being created by what's being pumped out through the pipeline. And I've always been of the mind that if it's a compelling artist and it's a competitive song, um, we just need to get it in front of enough people to hear it, and like you said, the right people, right? So that's advertising is getting the right message in front of the right person at the right time,
Hmm.
and so the right people and the strategies behind that. It may not just be I'm a country artist, so it should be people who like country music. Maybe it's a song um, about suicide or about addiction or about different things, that there are some people who need to hear that song right now, and being
Hmm.
able to find those people and being and not needing to. I just feel it's just so empowering to know that you don't need to sound like what's on the radio to literally make a six-figure living and be able to thrive as an artist, that you can be the millionaire next door. Nobody knows your name. It's you're not hugely famous, but you are tonight in front of this crowd
Yeah.
on
Totally.
stage. Um, what got you into the digital thing? Like, when did you pivot from that? Michael, what was is there a moment? Is there an impetus? Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a pretty defining moment in my life as I was kind of going through that transition from being a full-time touring artist to starting modern musician and helping other artists. It was about 5 years ago. We had been touring for about 10 years with Paradise Fears, and then that was around the time that I got married to the love of my life, and at the time I was gone for 10 months out of the year, and living a lifestyle that wasn't very conducive to being the kind of husband that I wanted to be, or to being the kind of father that I wanted to be. And when we found out that I was going to be a dad,
Hmm.
that was really sort of like the biggest impetus, I think, to like, I got to figure out what do I do next. And that was honestly, that was a pretty dark or a pretty difficult time in my life, because I had a pretty big ego, I think, around my identity with the band. I felt really proud of what we had accomplished, and my whole life was being on the road and playing on stages, and taking pictures and signing autographs and stuff,
Hmm.
and so that year where I was sort of figuring out what comes next, I just sort of felt like this, like, who am I now if I'm not gone traveling.
I know that feeling.
um
Yeah.
yeah,
and it's kind of ironic too, because if I knew what I know now, like if modern musician had existed back then who even knows what would happen? Because I mean, a lot of the tools, the things that we've learned that we're teaching now, are things that I learned over the last 5 years through investing in digital marketing mentors and people who've
Hmm.
taught me how to use advertising and use these
Hmm.
lookalike audiences and set up campaigns and funnels and
mhm.
stuff that really we had done a lot of touring, a lot of kind of in-person organic marketing, but nothing like this. And um, so anyways, so that year I was trying to figure out, what do I do now? Am I going to go back to college and get a real job? Because I'd never gone to college or out of high school. We
Hmm.
had started touring. And that was when I luckily stumbled upon a few mentors who taught me how to take what we had done with Paradise Fears and turn it into a program and start coaching and helping other artists. And so that was sort of like a basketball player who becomes a coach.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So I love the game. I'm always going to keep playing the game, making new music. I just got back from a songwriting retreat and working on new songs, and a
Oh,
huge
nice.
passion for it. But at the same time, I'm just at a different point of my life now. I'm more of the coach, and I have a huge amount of passion and joy. That's honestly probably like even more than I had from when we were doing it for ourselves. Because now I get to see this ripple effect and see all of these over 100,000 musicians now in our community who are doing their best work and being able to serve their communities, and it's pretty special.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
That's a
that.
great feeling. Yeah. Mhm.
What is what's the one thing that you think most artists need to hear? And maybe that's where you start when your mentor conversation with a new with a new artist that you might work with or something like that, what's one of the biggest holes that needs to be filled that most artists can't see yet or are blind to? Maybe it's in their blind spot or something like.
Right. I think one of the biggest mistakes, and this is like a big challenge to overcome, especially early on, is one of the misconceptions, I think, is that if your music's good, then you're going to be successful just by putting it out online.
If you
And
build it, they will come.
right.
I want to
And
punch Kevin
Good
Costner
art
in the
finds
face.
its own audience,
Right.
not
right.
Right.
Especially nowadays when there's so much music online, and it's so easy to put music and distribute it on Spotify and Apple Music that just putting it on there is, it's not, doesn't matter how good it is. It's
Yeah.
the analogy that I use for this is that it's like starting a fire, and if the songs are like the logs to start the fire with, and if you have great like giant logs, awesome, that's great for a fire. But if all you do is just put them in the fire pit, you just release your songs on Spotify, the fire doesn't just magically happen, right? Like
Yeah.
you need a way to drive traffic, you need a way to generate the flames.
That's such a perfect freaking
Yeah.
metaphor. Like I think people put the big giant logs in the fire pit and then they look up at the sky and they're waiting for the lightning to hit it to start the fire.
Yep,
And the thing is
100%.
that sometimes it happens, and that's the story that gets in the news.
Yeah.
And
Oh
so they
yeah,
think
it's true.
that's the way it should work. And it's like, no,
Right.
we can start some kindling and rub that stick together,
Yeah.
and
And that's the thing. It's like I was funny because I did a fire in the fire pit last night with some of my kids, and you start off with the little kindling with the little bit of
Yep.
starter, not the big night logs, not the big logs.
Yeah.
You start with the little ones, and they burn bright, but they burn fast, and you got to keep feeding it under, and then the bigger stuff can catch. You're not just going to go, get your little match and light it under like a big log, and it's going to like, oh, there we go. Now we have fire all night. It's feeding that to get it going, to catch the bigger stuff, to make it more sustainable. So that's an
That's
interesting
great.
metaphor.
I love that. So this analogy that I've been telling for probably about 4 years now. It's like step 2 of 5 of our masterclass. But I love that depth that you just added there with like the starting with like you don't necessarily start with a giant big log. That's kind of hard.
They
to
don't
start.
catch.
So it makes sense to start out with what you have, start building a fire, start generating the sparks, right, generating the kindling, and that's like the face-to-face like connection, having conversations, and then as it starts, now you can start to add some more logs to it.
Built,
I think there is, maybe you could make a case that for certain artists you could, I don't know, douse the log in lighter fluid.
Exactly.
But that's, I would say, for most people, that's not really how the fire starts, right? Unless you like come in with a massive budget and you're just ready to go. But
even then, like with that thing, Michael, like, I mean, to me, the metaphor of dousing the log with lighter fluid or whatever would be like, something like a Chainsmokers thing where they just, God bless them, had this massive viral hit right out of the gate with Selfie, and all the doors opened up, and they're really smart, and they knew how to ride that runaway horse and control it and do a good job. But even the artists that have the big, huge budget to do it, the strategy still has to be a grind. It still has to be with here's the sawgrass, here's the kindling. Let's get a spark started. Let's get this going. Here's some paper. We just need to keep this like little fire going to get that bigger log to catch. And then you can't let the fire go out. Like you have to put the next log on there, and you have to put the next log. And if you let the fire go too low, then the heat from that first log isn't going to catch the next log, and you got to put more kindling and more paper in there. And so that's such a beautiful metaphor. But it's like where you and I see eye to eye is really it's the grind of it, right? It's the fundamentals of marketing brought to a digital platform, which is consumed differently than broadcast, and trying to teach, because that's the same reason I started Daredevil. I initially moved back from LA to Nashville to partner up in a recording studio, which I did, and produce records, which I did. And all of a sudden I started seeing these artists that were coming in that were like really important. They were great artists, and they were spending their entire budget making the record. And I was like, okay, hold on, we're flip-flopping the recipe here, you know?
Yeah.
It's like at a label, whatever the budget is, no matter how big or how small it may be, you're gonna get 5% of that to make the donuts, and then they're gonna spend 95% promoting it and creating those relationships and making that happen, and it can be done, but you have to change the mindset. You have to, really understand how the platform is consumed, and you have to love them first. That's you
Mhm.
talking to the fans in line, waiting to
Yeah.
get in, and they're just like, "Holy crap, dude, what are you doing here?"
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they love it, right? And I think it's and let me ask you this question because when I was an artist, like, this was a hump that I had to get over. Even though you're doing it, and I'm certainly cocky on stage, and I had the swag, like, I could play the part well, but then there would be, like, I think to go and understand the importance of that, um, meeting that fan, standing in line, waiting to get in to see you,
Mhm.
requires sort of 2 weird things that are almost contradictory. Number 1, you obviously have to have humility to go and do it, okay? But number 2, you at the same time, you have to be to somehow know that you're gonna be important to them, which seems the opposite of humility, doesn't it? Like,
Mhm.
what was the mindset that you guys had to start to go and do that, and say what made you think that was a good idea? It was
Mhm.
a good idea, but how did you
Yeah, yeah. I think part of it for us was just sort of out of necessity. Like when we were first starting out, we out of high school decided to give this band thing a shot, and we worked our butts off to book our first tour. Back then, it was on MySpace. We like
Mhm.
reached out to all these other bands on
Oh,
MySpace, and we
wow.
like
Yeah.
set up
Uh-huh.
this like regional run. And we learned really quickly that just booking the shows isn't enough. Like you actually have to figure out how to get people to come out to the shows.
Oh, that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that part is kind of important. So I remember playing shows to just the bartender in the back of the room, and at
Mhm.
the time we were living in our van, sleeping in Walmart parking lots. We would go and get a big stack of flour tortillas, a big jar of peanut butter, and that was breakfast, lunch, and dinner for us was peanut butter tortillas. And yeah, so I think a large part of it was just out of necessity. It was like we were basically the definition of starving artists, and it was either we figure out how do we get people to come out to our shows, or we have like our career dies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was an idea. I think our lead singer first heard about something similar from bands at Warped Tour.
Mhm.
At the Warped Tour festival, there would be bands who would kind of walk around and they'd meet people and they'd offer CDs, and we had never heard of someone doing that for like actual tours before the shows. And so it was really from a point of who are the people who are most likely to come out to our shows. Probably people who are going out to shows already for
Mhm.
similar artists,
They
right?
spend money.
Right,
Those are
and
my
they
kind of
spend money.
people.
They actually care. Yeah, they
Yeah.
actually care enough to be there and to support the artists. And the way I think about it now is that it's sort of like Newton's laws of motion. Like an
Mhm.
object in motion tends to remain in motion. And so
Mhm.
if
Yeah.
you're trying to find people who are going to come out to your show, you want to find out where do people already have that momentum? Who are the people who are already doing it? Because an object
Mhm.
in motion tends to remain in motion. It's going to
Yeah.
take a lot less energy to plug in with that versus trying to convince someone who has never gone out to a show to come out and see you play.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think it was a part luck. Part luck. Just we thought this seems like it could work. We didn't really know, and it was honestly one of the most terrifying experiences that we went through. Like every day, there's something weird. It doesn't logically make sense, but when you're getting ready to walk up to strangers waiting in lines for shows,
And so this is not in line for your show. They're in line for other people's shows.
yeah, when we first started, it was just for his other people's shows.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah,
not catch that part. Damn.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So there was our favorite bands were like All Time Low, Mayday Parade, Blink 182, kind of this like pop punk vein. Before their shows, they would have thousands of people waiting outside, sometimes for like 12 hours in advance, just sitting on a blanket. And so we thought, what do we walk up to those people and just introduce ourselves and share some of our songs? And from the First Amendment, like there's like in terms of like legality, like you are able to go walk up to people who are on the side of a venue, and there's no sort of there's no wrongdoing there. But we always would connect with we would reach out to like the headliners and just let them know what we're doing and look to connect. And that's actually
Mhm.
how we networked and created relationships with, a few of our favorite bands that we grew up listening to. They give us the opportunity to perform with them, and All Time Low actually give us the opportunity to open for them on their next tour.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
Oh, nice.
and so that's how it started. Is we walked up to other people's shows, waiting who people were waiting in lines there.
Well,
Eventually, yeah,
I'll
go
just
ahead.
say that's so brilliant. I mean, that's something that, Johnny talks about. His question he'll ask us, artist is, if you could open for anybody, like not just stroke your ego, but whose fans would love you?
Mm,
Who would you want to open for? Now we can track down fans of those bands because they've raised their hand on digital, and we can find them and we can put your music in front of them. Again, you're doing the same thing just before the digital platform really was there. But you're going, okay, well, All Time Low. Okay, fans of theirs would like our music. You weren't just going because you're fans of theirs, but like if they like that music, they may like ours. Let's go say hi.
mm,
Putting you in front of new eyeballs and new ears that are geared more to liking your stuff. Same
yeah,
thing, same principle.
100%.
Love
It
it.
Yeah.
really is. And loving them first. Like, hey, I'm interested
Yeah.
in talking to you.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
name's Michael Walker. How are you? Like, we're in a band called Paradise Street. Yeah, here's a couple songs if you're interested. But just start talking with them, like, and jamming with them on that. Like, it's so simple, and people make such a big deal about it. I think just because it's foreign to them, right?
Mhm.
The idea of doing it that way. But Michael, when I was doing a promo for this one artist, this is like 6-7 years ago when Twitter was not political or anything yet, and the artist had a song called Haggard Fan. I co-produced the track on it, right? So we just had this slamming track called Haggard Fan. It's an homage to Merle Haggard, right? And it had 6 number one Merle Haggard song titles woven into the storyline of the thing. It worked if you knew Merle Haggard as just a brand name because Eric Church sang about it, and it's cool and old school. But if you really knew Merle Haggard, you got it, and you're like, oh, this is so good.
Mhm.
So I just thought to myself, where can we find a bunch of people, to your point, Michael, like that would probably really love a song called Haggard Fan?
Mm.
Hmm.
Merle Haggard fans, like, I wonder if he's got a
Possibly.
Twitter account. Oh, damn. Look at that. He's got a Twitter account. So then I started just reaching out to these people, following them first. And this is when it was white hat to do this. It's black hat now, but I don't think you can do it. But I had software that would, like, if they followed back, it would auto DM them and say, wow, thank you so much for following me back. Here's a free download of my song Haggard Fan, right? And just doing this is like no money. You know what I mean? This is just like grind, right? Just
Mhm.
grind every day. And he downloaded 2,000 songs in like a couple months. And I remember one in particular, and this is just sort of the conversational thing we're talking about, where I asked the artist because he had a 2-year-old Twitter account, but he had 27 followers and he'd never used it. He didn't understand it. I'm like, can I be you on Twitter for a month? I want to try a couple things. And he's like, sure. And so some guy just, it wasn't a DM, it was a tweet. It was like, hey man, just shout out to this artist. Like, I'm listening to Haggard Fan in my garage. This is crazy. And so I tweeted him back, and I'm like, wow, thank you so much. But wait a second, ... What are you doing in your garage? Now he freaks because he can't believe the artist just responded to him in like that quick. He's like, me and my buddy are in our garage. We're minding the grill outside. We're drinking beers and we're cranking Haggard Fan. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And now I ask another question. Wait a second, you're grilling. Do you know what you're doing with that thing? A man and his grill, And then it's just like 5, 4, 3, 2, bing. Here comes a picture of the most beautiful grill you've ever seen, loaded with chicken. And we just go, it's like 6 tweets back and forth where I'm just asking him about him. And it blew into this 6-tweet response because he couldn't fit it all in one tweet. It was just like, when you guys come down to Texas, man, I got a place to park the bus. You can stay here. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to get you guys drunk. I'll take care of the whole crew too. And I'm going to be pissed if I find out you're still like, and I'm just working that single. He didn't even have an album out or merch or anything. He would have bought everything. And all we did was talk about the music and ask him about like what he's doing,
Yeah.
and just jam with him. Right. And just hang and talk with him, dude. I love that, man. So
100%. Yeah, it's amazing how much conversation opens up when you are asking questions about the other person and you genuinely like are looking to connect with them and get to know them. Right?
Yeah.
Because people, I don't know, people like open up and they blossom. Like people
Hmm.
blossom when you give them the right kind of attention and you ask the right questions.
Yeah, especially like, that's just all people in any exchange.
Mhm.
But then you add in the fact that like you're an artist, and
Yeah.
then it even becomes more special because they that's you make them feel really good, and now they're prepared to love your song, and they haven't even heard it. You didn't even hand them that hard drive or that CD yet, or whatever. However you guys were doing that.
Mm.
Man, I love that, dude. So can you touch a little bit on the master class that you do, and just kind of share some of that before you got to go?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So our master class is something that we've been doing for probably about 3 years now. And I do one of them every single Wednesday live at 3 p.m. Eastern. And uh, basically, the way that it works is that we have like a on-demand version on our website that is available for purchase for $47, and that comes with all like the resources and freebies. We have a bunch of templates and spreadsheets, and we walk through like how to launch a messenger campaign. We call it the virtual tour hacking campaign. But it's available on demand for purchase, or if you register for the live masterclass. Sometimes if we have a partner that we're working with, or we have someone like you who is doing a podcast like this, then
Mhm.
we have a special link that we can give out that basically lets people attend the masterclass for free. And it's usually between 2 to 3 hours, so it's kind of like our most valuable thing that we offer for free.
Mhm.
Because um, aside from that, like our main engine with Modern Musician, our main like our flagship offer is a $5,000 coaching program.
Mhm.
And so just from like the price range, it's clearly not for everyone.
Mhm.
And in order for it to be worth it, we're really selective with who we bring into the coaching program. We have 35 coaches on the team now who
Wow.
meet weekly, one-on-one with the artists that join. And over the course of 3 months, we help them launch one of these funnels and get to a point where it's profitable as quickly as possible. And then the way that works is because again, it's not for everyone. We want to make sure that it's the right fit and that it's worth the investment if someone does join. And to be honest, like there's a certain level of quality I think that the music kind of needs to be at, and just the right person just to really get the most out of it. And so we have an application process for it. We get between 700 to 800 applications per month right now, and we narrow it down to about 25 to 30 artists to work with based on who would be the best fit. And so that's kind of our flagship offer. And because it's so limited, we wanted to have a way to, for everyone else who can't afford the program and is looking to maybe DIY, do it themselves, to create training and help just teach everything that we've learned through working with our artists for the past 5 years. We've invested just in the past year alone. We've invested over $730,000 into different types of ad campaigns and funnels and marketing to test out and see what's not working and what's working. And so in the masterclass, we just share the top 5 steps that we recommend to launch one of these funnels, and we share as much as humanly possible in like 2 to 3 hours. You don't hold anything back, and that's a little bit about the masterclass.
Man, that is awesome, brother. You got to run, don't you, to a meeting?
I do. Yeah, probably need to wrap up here. But man, I hate to cut things off because this is so awesome talking with you guys.
I
Well,
know,
thank
dude.
you.
That's
Thanks
such
for your
a. I
time.
just love the way your brain works, dude. I really do, and it just all comes from a real genuine place. And I think you're proof positive that the more people you help, uh, you got a great company going on right now, and I'm just super proud of that for you. You know what I mean? Like I just think that's amazing, and you grew it because you've helped so many people, genuinely helped so many people reach the next step in their goals that they needed to get. And so that is, you just can't say enough about that. I mean, Brent and I are doing the same thing, and so it's just an honor to have you on the podcast, man. Where can everybody reach you before we let you go?
Yeah, the best place to go next probably would be either modern-musician.com, or for the masterclass, we have a link for masterclass.modernmusician.me, me at the end.
Okay,
And if you go there, then you can find all the resources and whatnot about Modern Musician.
awesome. We'll put the links in the show notes too, brother. Okay.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
Sounds
thank
great.
you, Michael Walker, modern musician, modern-musician.com, for being on there. Got lots of stuff to learn here. This is, more and more artists are making more and more money, making real livings every single day. And you got to be a student of the game. And here's one of the mentors that's going to help you make that happen for sure. Okay. This podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.
Who